In Chapter 6, we will be looking at payroll processing. Payroll processing is the culmination of organisation parameters, store settings, the schedules you create, and time clocks collected from the store. LiveIQ Labour looks at the schedules and tries to match the time clocks against them. The rules set at organisation level are then used to validate the pairings and define how the employee should be paid. To begin the payroll processing phase, go to Labour, Payroll, and Processing. Here we can see all the stores within the organisation, as payroll processing is done at the organisation level. The time period we are going to be processing for is displayed at the top of the screen. Use the date selector to move between payroll periods. This table shows very high level information, such as the total hours scheduled and the total hours collected from the time clocks within this period. We can see a breakdown for each store, day by day, displaying the total time clock data and the total scheduled hours in brackets. Use the collapse controls to view this data. Should you wish to see the schedule and time clocks for this week, to clarify the data on screen, drill down to this information using the magnifying glass icon. Before we can process the payroll, we must review and finalise all stores within the organisation. This can be done store by store, or for all stores at the same time. The process option will not be available until you have finalised all stores. You can review and finalise a payroll period at any point once it has begun. The period must be over before it can be processed. Select the stores you wish to review using the checkboxes and press Review. In order to make the payroll period easier to analyse, the data has been broken down into multiple sections based on its status. First, we will look at the Approval Required section. This section is broken down into 3 tabs: Auto Approved, Manual Approval Required, and Time Clocks with no schedule. The Auto Approved tab displays matches of time clocks and shifts that meet all predefined rules. Manual approval payroll items display matches of time clocks and shifts that fall outside of the predefined rules but are still potential pairings. As these pairings require manual approval, they have not had any rules applied to them. They must be fully edited and accepted by the user before they can be processed. You can specify whether you pay by time clocks or by the schedule. You can edit all time clock information or add new ones by using the collapse icon. The Time Clocks with No Schedule tab displays exactly that. These are time clocks that have been collected from the store but do not belong to any valid shift pairing. These time clocks can only be paid based on the clock-in times collected from store. And to do this, the clerk ID must be mapped to a LiveIQ Labour employee, otherwise the time clock cannot be paid at all. Once you are happy with any changes, press Save. All time clocks that have been approved will be displayed within the Ready for Processing section. Now for the Unmatched section. The first tab in the Unmatched section is the shifts with no matching time clocks. This tab is more for reference purposes, so you can see which shifts were not successfully paired with a set of time clocks. The second tab in the Unmatched section displays shifts that have been assigned to a TBD employee on the schedule and have not been paired using the shift swap feature. The Errors section displays problems with data that prevent the processing of payroll. These issues must be rectified before processing can continue. The first tab displays shifts mapped to employees that are not currently employed within the organisation. This can be because the payroll period is before the employee's employment start date, or it is occurring after their employment end date. This issue can be rectified by adjusting these dates accordingly within the employee maintenance screens. The second tab displays all employees that have been placed on the schedule that do not have appropriate pay rate set. All employees require a standard pay rate in order to be processed. If overtime rules have been created, then overtime pay rates must also be added. If an employee is listed here, but does have the required pay rates, the pay rates must be valid during the payroll period. Edit these settings in the Employee Maintenance Pay Rates section. The final tab displays scheduled shifts that the employee does not have a correct store mapping for. All employees require a valid, unique clerk ID at this store for the payroll period. To add this, do so in the store mapping section in Employee Maintenance. All approved time clocks that have been saved on the Approval Required section will now appear under the Ready for Processing section. This is the last opportunity to add new time clock data or edit the approved settings. For a breakdown of these items, use the collapse controls. Once you are happy with all data, save any changes. Press Finalize to allow this store or group of stores to be processed. Again, payroll cannot be processed until all stores within the organisation have been finalised. Once returned to the payroll processing screen, you can process the payroll. Press Process. You should now see the payroll breakdown. This screen displays an overview of each employee, their hours worked and their total pay. For further information, you can drill down into each employee. Click on Details. Here you can see the payroll details, the time clocks they worked and their schedule during the payroll period. You can print this information for reference. Once you have reviewed the payroll and returned to the payroll breakdown, you can export all data you see in this section. Press Export to do this, and save the file in an easy to find location. This is an example of the payroll extract report. This concludes Chapter 6, Payroll Processing, and the LiveIQ Labour tutorial video. We hope you have found this video informative. Remember to refer to FAQs if you require any further assistance.